Hello and welcome everybody, this is Roland Hartmann from graphicinmotion.com, and in this tutorial I will show you how to customize my digital code intro After Effects template. Before we get started with the customization inside After Effects, let's take a quick look at the folder of this template. So if you purchase the template through VideoHive, if you download your folder and open it up, you will see that we have 4 different After Effects projects included. Let me explain why we have 4 different projects. As the names already say, we have 2 versions. So we have a blueprint version and we have the so-called dark version. And you also see that we have 2 different resolutions of each version. So the resolution of these 2 versions is Full HD 1080p, and the resolution of the 4K versions is of course 4K Ultra HD. Let's take a look at the 2 different versions. First of all, we have the dark version, and this is this version here. You see we have a dark background, and you see that the particles are quite bright and they are glowing and they are blending into each other like digital glow particles. So if you want to use this look, then choose the dark version in whatever resolution you want. And this is suitable for bright logos. In the end, you see here we have a quite bright logo on a dark background. If we take a look at the blueprint version, you will see that this looks a little bit different. The particles are not that glowish and the background is way brighter. So in this version, you can also use dark particles. For example, if your logo is black and you want to have a white background, then you could use this version because this will not work in the dark version. So if you want to use this blueprint look, or if your logo is very dark and you want your particles to be darker and the background to be brighter, then please choose the blueprint version in whatever resolution you want. For this customization, I will use my dark version in the Full HD resolution. So let's open up this project again. And now I will show you how you can enter your title and your logo. This template works with text layers in After Effects, and it also works with logos. Important is, if you want to use a logo, that your logo has an alpha channel. I will show you this in a moment, but let's start with a text. To enter your text layer into this template, we open up the logo and text composition. It should be already open in the timeline. If it's not already open, you can find it up here in the project window, and you can simply open it up by double-clicking on this icon here. You see that inside this composition we only have one text layer, and you can double click on this text layer and you can, let's say, write whatever you want. You can of course also choose any font that you want. Let's make this such a title, maybe make it a little bit smaller, a little bit too big, like 140 or something. Now I will choose this here and make it a bit bigger, like so. I want to change this distance here, like so. And maybe I also want to change the color, just to have something more interesting here, like so. Okay. Let's say this is the title that you want to use, and of course we have to position this a little bit better because now it's not in the middle here. So you can activate the title action save grid here, or these guidelines, to help positioning your title. And I will just move this above the middle here a little bit because I also want to add a tagline. So let's say this is exactly what we want to use in our animation. Important is that you now double click this layer and then you press Ctrl+C on your keyboard to copy. You can also come up here to go to Edit and select Copy. Now let's move over to our render composition. In the render composition, you see we have a layer here that's called Your Text. Double click this layer until you see this green square here. That means that everything on this layer is now selected. And now let's press Ctrl or Command on the Mac and V to paste your title. You can also use Edit and choose Paste. Now you see that my title and all my particles already are updating, and now you see we have the title that I created appearing here, and it's getting revealed or formed by the particles, and in the end it will be visible exactly as we put it into our logo text composition. Okay, so this is how you can use this template with text layers. Now let me show you how you can use a logo. To use a logo, we have to import our logo. So let's go to File and choose Import and Import File. In this case, I will use the Envato logo as an example. I will import it. And now I will drag my logo on top of my text layer, and I will turn off this text layer because we do not need this anymore. As I said before, it's very important that your logo has an alpha channel. So if I activate the transparency grid, you will see that this logo has no background. And this is important because we are going to trace the alpha channel, so the outlines of this logo, and we'll use these to control our particles. I would recommend that you use a rather big resolution logo here, because then the tracing will work better. In my case, it is an Illustrator file, so if I press F4 to change this layout here, I could use this collapse transformation and I could scale it up to whatever I want, and it will still be sharp and beautiful. Of course, make sure that you don't scale the logo too far because it should not exceed our composition limits. So you should not look like this because then you will cut it off. Make sure that it is still inside the composition, but also make sure that you make it as big as possible because, as I said, this will just improve the quality of the tracing. So in my case, I will just try that my logo will stay within this box here. So maybe we can scale it up a little bit more. Something like this is okay. Now we want to trace the outlines of our logo. Therefore, we select the logo layer and then we go to Layer and select Auto Trace. Now these options here appear, and if we choose Preview, so click Preview, you see that we get these preview lines here. And this is exactly what this tracing will do. It will create masks out of our logo. And I think that this looks pretty good. So if you take a look at the settings, make sure that there is no blur added. Make sure that the tolerance is at 1 pixel, minimum area is 10, and the threshold is 50, and the corner roundness is 50% as well. Of course, this is pretty perfect for this logo because it has only round corners. So maybe you have to decrease this a little bit when you're working with your logo. If you like the tracing lines in the preview, then you can click OK. And After Effects now will create a new layer. And if we select this layer and press M on our keyboard, you see all the masks that After Effects created. Now, this is also an important step. Make this layer invisible. Then select the first mask, hold down Shift and select the last mask. Make sure that all the masks are selected. Now we press Ctrl C again to copy, or you go to Edit and choose Copy. Now let's move again to the render composition. And you see that we have a layer on top here that's called Logo Mask. And now you select this layer, press M, and you see that there are some masks already applied. These are placeholder masks. So make sure that you delete these masks here. Select all of them and just press Delete to get rid of them. Now with this layer selected, let's press Ctrl and V to paste in the masks that we just created and that we just copied from our logo text composition. And now you see that the logo is already visible, but if we move our cursor here to our build-up, you see that we still have our text layer in here. And this is because we have to tell the Stardust plugin, which is required, by the way, to use this template, that it should not take the information from this text layer, but from these masks here. And we do this by selecting this layer that's called Logo Build-Up Particles, or Logo Build Particles Stardust. And now we have to enter these emitters. So let's open up emitter number 1. And you see that the type is set to text or mask, which is perfect. But you also see that in the layer properties, if this is not visible, then open it up here. The layer is set to your text layer, which is this layer. But we do not want it to look at this layer anymore. We want it to look at the logo mask layer. So just change this from your text to logo mask. And we do this with all these 3 emitters. So change this, emitter 2 and emitter 3, logo mask. And now you see that we are building our logo. Now the logo is quite big, and to change this, we select our logo mask layer and we press S to reveal the scale properties. Let's move our cursor to the end of the animation to take a look how the logo looks. And I think it's, too big. So let's set it to maybe 80% here, make it a little bit smaller. Looks quite good. And if we take a look now, the whole animation is smaller and the Stardust plugin is taking over the size that we put in here. And the reveal should work perfectly. You see that now the logo is building up here and filling in our digital code particles. Okay, so perfect. Now we added our logo. The next step is that we change the look of this animation a little bit. I do not like the color of the particles because, these orange particles do not fit our logo. So let's change this. Therefore, I will move to a frame where I can see my logo because I just want to take over the color from my logo. Now again, we select the particle build-up here. And this time, let's take a look at these main particle settings here. You see inside these main particle settings, we have particle properties. So if these are not open, then open them up. And you see here is a color gradient. If this is not open, then open it up as well. And you see that we have this kind of gradient. And the particles get their color from this gradient. So what I want to do in this case, I just want to change this color here, this orange. So let's click on this gradient and let's take over the color from our logo and let's click OK. Now let's copy the gradient by selecting this copy and move down to particles number 3, reveal the color gradient and paste it in. And you see it didn't work now. And this is, I think it's a bug from Stardust. Maybe it will be fixed until you use it. But if you experience the same problem that copying doesn't work, you simply click on this colors on each of them. Just make sure that each of them was open and you click OK. Let me again click here. Again, click here into this small field and click OK. And now I press copy, move down and paste. And you see now the copying works. So this is a little bug or whatever from the Stardust plugin. As I said, maybe it will be fixed when you use this template. Now I will paste it into my main particles, into my main particles 3, into my main particles 2 here. And then I will move to the grid layer here, which is also a Stardust layer. And you see we have the particles right here, again with the color gradient. If this is not open, then please just open up these branches here and paste this as well. And now if we take a look at our animation, you will see that now all the particles have the colors that I put in here into these gradients. So you can of course create your own gradient. Just as an example, let's move back to our logo build and maybe I want to create my own. So let's get rid of these particles and let's put in something crazy here. Let's see, maybe pink. This will look definitely crazy, but just as an example, now we'll update this again. Doesn't look too good, so let's choose another color here to make this look a little bit better. Now copy, and I can paste this. I didn't take it over again. So let's see. Okay. Okay. Copy. Paste. Now it worked. Paste. Go to the grid layer. Paste. 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 And paste one more. I forgot this, by the way. And now my particles have exactly the colors that I specified with these gradients. Okay, now I reset the particle colors to my green again. And now I will show you how you can change the background color. To change the background color, you just select the BG layer here, that's background, and you see that there is a simple ramp. And maybe you want to create a little bit of a greenish tint here, so you could just use color here, like something, a dark green, like so, maybe. And as a last step, you could change your tagline. To change the tagline, make sure to move your time indicator behind this marker, then double click this layer and then you can enter your title. And of course you can also specify a color here. Okay, so this is the basic and fast customization. I want to show you one more option. You can also specify how these particles exactly look like. To determine what is displayed on these particles, we enter the particle texture. If you open up the particle texture, then you see we have 10 layers in here, or 8 layers. And we have a 0, a 1, and several other symbols, just simple symbols from this font. Actually, you can get the font that I used for these particle textures here, and you can find it in the links folder in the project. There you have 2 links. The first one is to this font that I use, Digital 7 it's called, and it's free, so you can download it from the font and install it before you open up the project. And the second link is leading to the audio that I used for the preview. If you want to use the same, then you can get this here at Audio Jungle. If you want to change the particles now, let's say maybe you are a coder or some kind of a computer science guy, and you want to only have 1 and 0s in your particles. This is very simple to do. Actually, what we can do is we can simply select all the other text layers here and delete them. Now we can just bring in our work area bar here, just that these 2 are covered, and now we can right click and say trim comp to work area. Now if we go to the render composition and take a look, you will see that now these particles will only use 0s and 1s. So now we have this binary code going on in our build-up. But maybe you want to use completely other particle textures. So let's open up this particle texture composition again and press Ctrl+C to undo the changes that I did here. And now let's see what we can do. You can simply, maybe you do not want to use these text elements, but maybe you want to use shape layers. So if you want to use shape layers, let's delete all of them that are here. Let's zoom in a bit and let's choose this tool. And let's create maybe a rectangle here. So rectangle. Now make sure that this is only 1 frame long. Now let's deselect everything and create another rectangle, maybe something like that, some kind of shape here. I'm just doing something very random now, and make sure this is covering only 1 frame, in this case the 2nd frame, so that we generate a sequence here. Now we could maybe create a new one, so deselect everything. And maybe we want to make something like this. Okay. And now let me create one more with another tool, maybe a small circle or an ellipse. So deselect everything again and then just draw an ellipse. I hold down Shift and Control to create a circle. And now let's just shrink this to 1 frame. Let's bring our work area in here and right click trim comp to work area. And now if we go to our render composition and move forward, you will see that all the shapes that I created are now visible in our particles. So you can determine whatever the particles look like. So you could also put in some icons or whatever you want. Okay, so this is it with the customization. As a last step, you could enter the audio. As I already showed you, you can get this from Audio Jungle, and then you can simply import your audio exactly as we did it with the logo. You go to File and choose Import File, move to your audio file, import it, and then just drag it into the audio composition, and then move to the render comp and add this to the render queue or to the Adobe Media Encoder. Okay, so this is it with the customization tutorial. I really hope that you like this template and that you create great intros with it. If you have any questions, then feel free to contact me either through my VideoHive profile or through my website, which is www.graphicinmotion.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I really hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Jungle.